welcome to Journeys at MACSA Podcast. I'm here with Ricky Juarez today. We're going to be talking about his band and how he got involved with the band, and also what he's got planned for the future. So, Ricky, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Yeah. So you actually, I have to tell a little story about you. You've been around MACSA for a while.
Definitely, yeah. I started out when I was, just a small child, taking piano lessons with Miss Brenda Boyd.
Right.
That was my first music teacher.
Right.
Ever,
So
I guess,
going way back, and but I'm even talking about. I think even prior to that, you were often wandering around the halls.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
You were the first MACSA babies. I won't.
Yeah.
That's
I know what you mean. Yeah.
So you've been around, and it's been great to see you grow and have you here. So anyway, so tell us a little about. Let's talk about what you're doing right now. So what's going on with the band, and what you guys got planned for the fall?
So I guess like right now, we the last Saturday, we finished shooting a music video. The song was called Saturday Nights, and it recently reached like 1 million streams on Spotify.
Okay.
So that's like our second guy.
Amazing.
And we thought that was much easier to market and make a music video for. What we did is we organized like I say we, but the lead guitarist Gavin, he spearheaded the whole thing. And organized. So we made like an open application on our social media. People were able to RSVP, and we kept like 100 of them and invited them to a venue that was like a skate park and a pool, and we shot a bunch of video of that. There was like a little plot that we added to it, something light for the music video to make sense. But ultimately, we just got shots of our fans engaging with us and having a party, kind of. Very organized at that venue, and it was a really nice time because when we got to engage with them. But so that's what we did last weekend. But going forward, we're preparing to do a small tour on Labor Day weekend with another band that invited us out, and we're just kind of founding our merchandise type. Our website, and then getting that off the ground. So, but that's like what we're doing. There's a bunch of, I guess I can keep going on and on what's happening on in the background.
Well, it sounds like a tremendous amount of things, and it's kind of amazing to me to hear, because you're kind of like we tend to know about bands, those of us in the public, like once they've already kind of reached those bigger heights, and I've seen you go from before that to you're kind of like. I would say you already have had a lot of success. I mean, hitting 1 million views, and it's not the only one that has had that many views. Shooting a video, that's all that is a big deal. How does it feel to be at that point? I mean, what I'm getting at here is that you're at a point where all this is beginning to change and kind of come together. How does that sort of feel?
Yeah.
To position?
With things changing, it definitely feels more and more like I think I compartmentalize it like this. Like when I go to rehearsals with my bandmates, right? And it's just the four of us, and we're creating. I isolate that as this is a time for the art and the rehearsing and all that. But I've also had to, in addition to, add this kind of area in my mindset that it's also kind of a job as well. So we all take different tasks on, I guess, the business side of the band. Our oldest bandmate, Gavin, he spearheaded the, getting us an LLC. So that we had a partnership, because we're talking to distribution and labels, and when they want to sign us or whatever. And if we're doing that, there's a lot of movement of money in there, so we have to. And then when we're selling merchandise, and so we, in that, I guess for Uncle Sam, we need that all figured out.
They do like it when you keep track of that, yes.
And so I'm more of the bookkeeper and the accounting. So I've added that on as but I've still kept it like there's two different worlds, and so it becomes more of like a job in a sense as well. And I had to change my mindset and be ready for that. Like, I guess a lot of people may get to that point with, a creative group, an ensemble. It doesn't just have to be a band. And it gets stressful because they're not prepared for that aspect.
Right.
My example for that is the lead singer for our band, Keanu. He's a solo artist as well. He had very great success very early on. We were in a band together, but he did solo music. And his very first single for solo music, blew up.
Wow, really?
It's right now at 30 million streams.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is massive.
And it's a crazy song that's huge. And
that was
his
first one. That was his first one.
Yeah, it was his first song. He got The thing is he mastered very early on how to captivate the social media world, which I guess is another thing we can get. That's a whole different conversation that we can talk about later on. But continuing on this context, that overwhelmed him, I guess. I don't know everything about his experience, but he does say often, like, he's glad to be in a band with us because that experience is like, oh my gosh, there's all this coming at me. And you got people asking you for this, shows, all these things. So then tackling all that, you have to be prepared to just treat some parts of it as like, okay, this is a job, and I need to have a system. I need to have ways to do it. It's not just this is a hobby, right? I think that's a lot of a habit. My hobby turned into a job, and I don't like it anymore. Well, if it's really your passion, you really have to be prepared for that, So that's the main thing with me that I had to encounter.
There's so many interesting things in what you just said. One of the things that occurred to me was that, in a band already, creatively, just functionally in a performance, you're a percussionist. Somebody else you got a lead singer, you got a guitarist, you've got people doing different jobs in the band itself, to creating the art, and then you also now have different roles in the business side, right? In a sense,
Definitely.
like I kind of have this imagination in my head of like if you have a T-shirt of you guys playing, you might have a separate T-shirt with you doing accounting work and somebody else applying for an LLC or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a way, it's like there's a
Definitely.
there's a band, there's a business band behind the band in a way, and which is very that's one of the things I was thinking of as you were talking. And then the other thing I was thinking of is that it was reminding me that we forget, hey, Mozart and Bach and all those people, they had to make a living too, and they had to be, some of them were more successful than others, putting on concerts and selling tickets, and they used to do subscription concerts. Mozart would say, like, I'm gonna, you're gonna hear all these new piano concertos, and I'm gonna sell all these tickets, and sometimes he wouldn't have written the concertos yet, but he would sell, do these subscriptions, and if he could have made T-shirts, he would have been making, I'm sure, Mozart, concerto T-shirts.
Probably,
But it's
maybe wigs, right?
Wigs, probably wigs. That's exactly what it would have been.
That's what I would have done if I was Mozart.
You can still do that. You should
Maybe,
do it. You could maybe get like beards or something. For people. Like that'd be cool, right? Be thinking of it. But so I mean that's it's kind of, to me, one of the things that's so interesting with these journeys that we go through. Creative artists. You do have to balance those things, and it can hurt your spirit at first if you're not ready for it, because it's not. I mean, usually you don't like dream of, I would love to do accounting for my band. That's not your dream as much as
it isn't.
And yet, if you don't have that structure, you can't be free, right? You can't. And eventually, you guys are going to be even more successful. You can hire people to do those jobs, but having done the jobs yourself, you're going to know. Who to hire, and you're going to be able to watch things. And of course, some people who've kind of blown up early, like your lead singer you were mentioning, sometimes they can get bad experiences with people taking advantage of them, right? And because they didn't know what to look for. So I mean, that's kind of like that's pretty awesome.
Or they burn out very quickly.
And burn out.
Sometimes that just happens too.
Right. So when you were working, towards this, and it started as a hobby. Obviously, you enjoyed it, but did you see yourself, like, were you, like you said, it shifted, but like, what was your vision, like, go back 5 years, 10 years, what was your vision for how, like, music, percussion, and was going to fit into your life. So I know you're also a pianist, of course.
Yeah.
So how did that all? Like
Yeah.
5-10 years ago, where was your head at with all this stuff?
5-10 years ago, 10 years ago I was 11, so 5 years ago, what was that?
Wait, 16, right?
Yeah.
Math, very good.
There you
Math
go.
skills.
So at 16, when I was a sophomore in high school, I don't think I had a wink of like, I'll be playing in a band and be studying at a university for music. I was just I don't know. What do high schoolers do? They just exist there, and at least for me, I wasn't. I had ambitions, but I wasn't like thinking to myself that I would be doing music more very involved as it is now in my life. I just didn't expect it. I thought it was just something like you shoot for the stars, and maybe I'll I'll hit the moon or whatever. However that line goes.
Right.
I can't.
I think that's right. Yeah, you shoot for the stars. Maybe I'll get to the moon.
Yeah, something like that. And I just thought, it probably won't. I didn't think where I am now I would ever reach it. I mean, I obviously deep down you hope, but you have to sometimes you accept the reality that probably not. But I still had a drive to get better. Like I knew that I knew maybe it wouldn't be like a career at some point, or maybe I wouldn't be. I just wanted to get better in all aspects of my life, including music. Going through high school and getting into college, I just had this mentality of just a little bit better, just getting a little bit better every day, I guess.
I'm gonna pause for a second. I'm curious about that. Well, what was it? What shifted then when you I mean, it sounded like you went through some sort of a shift to change where you thought, okay, now I want to get better every day. Like, when did that? Do you remember like what caused that, or?
I think what causes that for me is I make sure that I'm with the right people, right? So like you have a circle of people. Yeah. If you're the best person in the room or whatever, right? It goes back to that old thing.
That's so right. You're so right.
It doesn't. You're not. You think you're the biggest fish.
Right,
you get comfortable, and you don't
true.
get better.
You're right.
And then I was in a band, and I was like the best guy in the band, and it's like, okay, well, we're stagnating.
Right.
So then you find my friend who and we're like it was like, what's the term? We're like, you recognize game or whatever, right? So you meet this person, and you're at the same level of like, we're all in on this. Yeah. We really. He's got musical ideas, I got musical ideas, and we're colliding and all that. So and then we find other people like that, and then we form a band. And that I'm using the band and how that happens.
Well, no, that's what I'm asking about. This is very interesting. Yeah.
So I think with that applies to everything, but in the scope of a band, you got to find people who match your level of intensity with commitment. I guess musical style and even then, the style can be a little bit different and take in different influences, but still the same, course, the same. Some way it has to align, right? But you have to find the right people and surround yourself, and then you encourage each other to be better by holding each other accountable for that. Like maybe if you're in a subpar band, and you're not holding everything together, you settle for things, I guess, musically. Right. Whether that be in the studio or for live performance, and but when you're with a group of guys who expect excellence, it motivates you to be better, and you just automatically it's either a sink or swim type feeling for me. Right. You either get better or you won't be part of the band.
Right. Well, you're hitting some key concepts here. I mean, I just want to suss those out for a second, because one of them is we do a willingness to put yourself in a position where you are forced out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And also the thing, like you said, these cliches have truth to them. That who you surround yourself with. If you're always the smartest person, the most talented person, or the most successful person in your group, well, we all need to rest sometimes, right? But like, but like
Definitely.
if you're trying to get better, you don't want to do that. You want to be
Mhm.
you want to be on the lookout, right? And we can all hold ourselves accountable to a certain point, but it's very hard to sustain that like for years and years and years and years and years, right? You really need. I mean, that's why in sports, like we just had the Olympics, right? So
Mhm.
if there was no Olympics, if there were no basketball games and no
Mhm.
baseball games ever, people wouldn't be very good at
Mhm.
sports, right? Like they have to push themselves,
Definitely,
right,
yeah.
to that extreme. So I think that's one of the keys that you have expressed here. Is what it's interesting too, like what in your spirit, because not everybody does that.
Mhm.
Not everybody looks for those opportunities. You know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Some
yeah.
people are actually very scared of those things, right?
Mhm.
They run the other way. They run away from that
Yeah.
kind of challenge, right?
It's not very human to be uncomfortable, I guess.
We
Yeah.
don't like to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, animals don't like it either. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't like to be uncomfortable.
Mhm. Definitely, yeah.
But you learn, that's wiser, right?
Yeah.
To put yourself in those positions so you'll get a lot
Yeah.
further.
You don't want to stagnate. And,
Mhm.
and I guess in my personal experience, it happened. I guess it happened by accident. Like I
Mhm.
met people, we're playing or it also mainly I think the main thing that occurred to me for how we're in the scope of like surrounding yourself with the right people or people who
Mhm.
motivate you to be better. I went to so I graduated from high school and I went to Trinity University, and there it's the whole thing where like you're the biggest fish here, and then now you get there and you're like a tiny fish,
Right.
in
Oh,
this new
Trinity's
pond,
a great
right?
college, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And not only that, but not only musically, but academically,
Yeah.
you're around all these people who are like,
Mhm.
smart or just as smart as you, and
Mhm.
just as talented as you, and it could either you could let it either discourage you or you
Right.
could let it motivate you to
Yeah.
surpass that. So, for me, it was college going in there and just
Mhm.
realizing, yeah, I've got some improving to do,
Mhm.
um, uh, and and then from then on, I've always been kind of like if I'm comfortable, I've got to move somewhere else to get better. But of course, moments to take to rest. Of course, you can't always be in a stressful environment.
Right,
That's
of
not
course,
that's
of course.
toxic, right?
Yeah.
Just like it's. I always remember these Greek inscriptions, right? Know thyself,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And
yes, right. Mhm.
and nothing in excess,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And that's two. I mean, I feel like that's like a double-edged,
Right,
a
right.
coin, right? You can't
Right,
have one
right,
without the other.
Right. True.
So
Mhm.
putting yourself in those environments, you got to know how much you can take of that, and not use that excessively, because then you won't. Then you get like the whiplash, that movie.
Well, yeah. Of course, right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think we, right. We also want to avoid, things like whiplash, but
Yeah.
it's what I'm meant is that we can get burnt out, but I think when you're the age that you are, typically burnout is well, who knows? Of course, you can be burnt out at 21 years old. I mean, of course, but I mean,
Yeah.
typically though, most people are burnout is not the issue they're facing, right? It's more.
Sure,
It's
yeah,
more,
yeah.
It's more the other. But this video is. I'm going to switch back to more present and future now. So
Of course, yeah.
the video. I mean, I grew up in an era where like music videos, like where they got started, and that's to me that's such a big deal. It must have been so fun to get your fans together to do something like that. And what'll be cool is if we could put in the show notes a link to the video at some point,
Yeah.
and everything like that, as well as the things you guys have coming up. The tour is going to be it sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Over the next, just to wrap up the next few minutes here. So what are you thinking? Like, you guys have got tours, you've got your merchandising, you've got in the next year or so. Like, what's kind of on the horizon for the band, and for you personally?
For me, for both. Well, I'll start with the band. With the band, we're doing the tour. We're starting our baby steps. So we have we're with we have the producer that we recorded our latest album with, INOHA. He was in Austin. His name is Frenchie Smith. He's a really cool guy, very big personality, and he used to manage bands, so he liked us so much that he offered to manage us.
That's great.
And we've been very happy with him so far. He's a 50-year-old guy with lots of connections all the way back to when he was a player himself. So we've been benefiting from that, and through him he's been guiding us to, okay, now we have a lawyer. Now we have a book. We signed with a booking agency. This is getting real. Yeah, we signed with a booking agency, and we have a booking agent, and then we're talking with distribution labels / actual labels, and kind of weighing and curing, and then we have all these meetings, and so that's what we have to look forward to for a little while, is more meetings with that, which we don't mind.
Right. Well, that's part of it.
Yeah, it's part of it is understanding that you got to do that. But really looking forward is really our main decision between staying completely independent or signing with some sort of distribution or label, and having them help us. And mainly what our manager wants us to do is to take touring baby steps. So this first one is only 4 dates. We're only part of it. We're the direct support for only 4 of those dates in Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Houston, and Austin.
Okay.
So nothing crazy. Yeah. And then he's saying, okay, then maybe after that, maybe y'all can handle a week of touring.
Right. Okay, that's
maybe
smart.
Maybe 2 weeks, right?
That's a good way to do it.
Especially since me and Keanu, the lead singer, we're both still this is our last year of university. Right. And we would like to graduate, and so it helps us to baby step our way into, okay, now we're touring more and all that. So that's what we're looking in the future. Baby steps into being a touring band and doing that. And then me personally, I still have that same old, I want to get better, you know? I'm still with these guys because they have such a high expectation for me. It's pushed me to get to look more and more deeper and deeper into my ability to perform, my ability as a person, as everything. So, that's what I look forward to is for both, to just continue to grow and to be a better person. So.
Wow, that's awesome. Ricky, this has been such a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate you coming in today. This has been a conversation with Ricky Juarez, and I'm just really excited. I kind of feel like maybe we'll be part of like the documentary shot in about 5 years on when you guys are blown up, and like I'll be like, I was there talking to him, one of the early MACSA podcasts. So I really appreciate you sharing your journey with us and your path to success.
Thank you.
And we'll be back next week with another podcast. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.